what's the quick overview on the Wildcats entering 22? Is it going to be a significant rebound as we've seen the roller coaster of the past 4 seasons?
Yeah, Bradley, before you answer that question, I'll speak on behalf of Iowa fans. They want to know if the sharp decline followed by the sharp incline is going to continue because, like Mark alluded to, it seems like every other year Pat Fitzgerald resurrects the dead in Evanston and the Wildcats end up being Big Ten West champions.
Well, I think obviously Northwestern fans would tell you the phenomenon of even year magic exists, but I just think looking at this roster, this team, Pat Fitzgerald seems more confident in the strength of this team, the readiness, but looking at the talent on paper, I think this team is still very much lacking and is in position to finish under 500 yet again. I think it all starts with the quarterback position. Last year was just a rotating threesome of Hunter Johnson started the year. He looked good. Then all of a sudden his play declined. Andrew Marty comes in. Marty gets injured. Then he's inconsistent too. And then Ryan Helinski, the big name transfer, finally gets a shot. And he was pretty much pretty inaccurate and did not look very poised under center. So Helinski is one of the contenders to start at quarterback this year. Also, Brendan Sullivan, the redshirt freshman who has never played a snap of college football. So there's still lots of ambiguity at quarterback. The one area where Northwestern really is going to excel is the running back room. Cam Porter coming back from a lower leg injury. Evan Hull had over 1,000 yards last year behind a pretty subpar run blocking group. You also have a guy like Trey Tyus, Andrew Clare, the grad student from Bowling Green, who was pretty good last year. So I like the Cats at running back, receiver, have some talent, although they lost Stephon Robinson, who's kind of that top dog in the receiver room. The offensive line obviously has Peter Skoronski, one of the better offensive linemen in the country. But besides Skoronski, it's still a pretty subpar unit with some transitions at center and some different guard positions. And then the defense, obviously, a bit reeling, one of the worst defenses in the country last year, especially against the run. And we know Iowa obviously likes to run the ball a lot in that Big Ten West. Defensive line is going to have to rely on Adetomo Adebawore, the senior defensive lineman. They brought in a lot of new transfers from a lot of new programs, some uncertainty at linebacker, at free safety as well. So I think there is some talent on this team, but the question is how much of it can be harnessed. And also Northwestern has a very, very difficult schedule this year, some very challenging road trips up ahead. So I'm not super optimistic on the Cats this year, but I think the Iowa game should be a fun one nonetheless.
And Mark, let me just insert this real quick. Am I correct in saying, so 18 and 20, I don't have it in front of me, but 18 and 20 were the 2 championship years for Northwestern in the West. 2017, though, was not. I think there's this perception, Bradley, that, again, like I just noted earlier, that you have this constant seesaw, but I don't think that's really the case because 17 was a very successful season. I believe that was the year that they won 3 straight overtime games and beat Kentucky. Am I correct?
I believe you are correct, yeah.
So, Mark, is there a bit of a misnomer, misconception with the seesaw narrative?
Yeah, it's only been these 4 seasons. Sure. Pat Fitzgerald had really only one down year for quite a long time from about, I remember that 2012 team was the first Northwestern team to win a bowl game. They beat Mississippi State in the Gator Bowl in 2012, and that's continued a pretty good run of Northwestern football with maybe the occasional, they had a 5-7 downer, but a long stretch of successful football. And it's just been, a pattern of these 4 seasons of up and down, and they're supposed to, if it continues, of course, then we're looking at a Western Division championship. But as it sounds, Bradley's not too confident in that being the narrative, and I don't think either one of us are.
But let me just add this in, and then I'll let you go, Bradley. But let's just remember this, that 2000 I just pulled up the 2019 schedule. They beat UNLV. I don't know how good UNLV was, but probably not very. They beat UNLV that year. They beat a UMass team program that is one of the worst programs in the FBS. All right. And they won at Illinois towards the end of the Lovey era. I mean, they got waxed that year by 31 to Indiana. They got shut out 20-0 at home to Iowa. They got beat by 49 to Ohio State and by 21 to Michigan State. So Pat Fitzgerald does have the ability to, even though he kind of dispelled some of that narrative, he does have the ability to light fire under his guys. How does he do that, Bradley? Like, what is it about? Because I think Pat Fitzgerald, Mark may not agree with this, I think Pat Fitzgerald is the best coach in the Big Ten. And there are a lot of Iowa fans that get mad at me saying that because Kirk Ferentz is the longest tenured. I get that. And Kirk would be in my top 3. but I think Pat Fitzgerald is the best coach in the Big Ten. How does he light fire under his guys who maybe don't have the talent of the other major programs in the division?
I think a lot of Northwestern fans would love your idea of Fitzgerald being the best coach in the Big Ten, and he's definitely one of the better coaches in the nation. I think the thing that's really stuck with Fitzgerald is how transparent he is, and he really just wants the best for his players, not just on the field, but in the classroom, evolving and developing as men, as leaders. And you look at that culture at Northwestern, Fitzgerald has really hammered home the idea that this is much more than just a football team. It's really a family that transcends the gridiron, just the line of scrimmage, all those individual battles. And there's really, I've said it before, but there's nobody that you could have handcrafted better to lead this Northwestern team than Pat Fitzgerald. I think led the team to so much success during his Rose Bowl season, taking over after the tragic passing of Randy Walker, and then Fitzgerald just coming in so smoothly and leading this team. And the fact that Fitzgerald has continued to turn down NFL interest and offers just speaks to how much he cares about this program. And people have asked me before, well, if Northwestern has another down season, is Fitzgerald on the hot seat? Absolutely not. Fitzgerald would have to probably go winless for 3 or 4 straight years before Northwestern would even consider making a move. And I think Fitzgerald he always has his players' backs. He never wants to undermine a player, and he knows just how much Northwestern football means to the Evanston community. So there's nobody better, again, to lead Northwestern through all the travails and some different position battles and some, I don't know, even if some players struggle, Fitzgerald is always there and always trying to uplift the team.
And I'll just say this too, as it relates to Pat Fitzgerald, that was one of my big fears when the reports started circulating about him turning down the Bears job. Is we didn't need another fire to be lit under his guys, and if there's anything that's going to light a fire, it's going to be hearing that this coach who's at a program that I don't want to compare Northwestern. Should we compare Northwestern as a program, Mark, to a Vanderbilt? Is that fair to Northwestern? I mean, historically it is, right?
Yeah, historically there's a comparison. Recently, there's no comparison because Northwestern's been able to propel itself past the challenges and actually, as Marcus Freeman is talking about at Notre Dame, in a different light, certainly a different situation, but in embracing the quality and the academic standards and all of that, to turn that into a positive for Northwestern recruiting, which is doing very well in this 23 cycle. The Vanderbilt, aside from 2 James Franklin seasons at 9 and 4, has been a disaster for decades.
And so I guess my point being, can you imagine a Vanderbilt head coach turning down a head coaching job in the NFL? I mean, if that's true, I mean, I know those are the reports out there. Can you imagine that happening? So to me, there's anything that's going to light fire under those guys, it's going to be the fact that their coach is that darn content and loyal to his players. So I'm sorry to Iowa fans that don't like that I said that, but I think as it relates to talent, he's won as many West Division championships as Iowa has. That's startling to think about. Now the lows are going to be lower. We know that, right? But the ceiling has been so much higher than I think anybody expected Northwestern could ever achieve. Anything else for Bradley before we let him slide, Mark? Appreciate your time,
the lows are low, and just in those Western Division championship seasons, those Northwestern teams have lost to MAC schools. And I think both of those division championship seasons. So it's an intriguing program. I quietly root for Northwestern. I just think it's phenomenal. And Pat Fitzgerald always ranks high on any list that I devise.
Your boy Steve Dace over at Michigan Podcast has a huge, gushy man crush on Pat Fitzgerald. I don't exactly blame him. Again, what he's done there has just been incredible.
Yeah, I have many times ranked him as the best coach in the Big Ten myself.